Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back again. Today again I'm going over the Berserker here for a brief overview on what I learned from playing them in the pre-order beta, and wanted to kind of give you all some of my experiences from that. So kind of getting into it here, the Berserker I found had, I'm kind of go over their strengths and some of the weaknesses and what I think they might go and combo really well with and stuff like that. So this is pretty much what I found for their strengths. They, starting out, they've got their stances: the balanced stance, the Berserker stance, the Mage Hunter stance, offensive stance, ranged stance, striker stance, and then the unyielding invocation. So pretty interesting stuff there. The biggest one I wanted to highlight here is their Berserker stance, and I found that I really loved their Berserker stance. It was pretty awesome. I went over that in my video that I kind of link here in the playlist at the end for the stances, and it does all kinds of good stuff. You can attack and go down past the 25%. You get that bonus all the way until you hit 0 and it goes away. It'll give them increased damage and 100% increased attack speed, as well as that 50% faster cooldown on their melee abilities and stuff like that. So combos in really good with things like Smite and Reeve from the Shadow Knights, Cleave from the Warrior, stuff like that. Just an awesome thing. It helps with their own frenzy ability. It's going to help with things, like the monk's kicks or the rogue's backstabs and many more. So it's just, I think, a great ability all around. It's in a really good place. Lots of good combos that you can do with that, which I'll go over later. They also recently added that the frenzy and the cleave both help reduce the cooldown on the AA for Rampage, which gives you like a single attack on all people in ranged. So another great interaction there. More is always having more interactions are great. So the other thing they added in during the pre-order was a stun and a snare ability that they can activate to spend some endurance and stun a monster or snare that the NPCs and stuff. So pretty cool. And the last thing I kind of wanted to go over here, just a specific highlight that I've liked, was the Fool's Cudgel and other big two-handers. So I just find that with the super increase in attack speed, that's where I liked, but you don't have to use a two-hander necessarily with them, but it just felt good to me. One of the things that I learned was that the frenzy seems to be a set base damage, so it was not using your weapons damage for the frenzy. From the experience I had and what I was kind of reading up on from it, it's kind of a flat damage that they do. I mean, it has variances in there, but having a really big two-hander didn't change the damage of frenzy like it would, for instance, with a cleave. So kind of interesting, but still the fact of the matter is that they get these really big two-handers. So that's what I wanted to show off here from the EQL wiki page. Cudgel the Fool. Just look at this bad boy. It has leveled up to 10, of course. You can change the level on the slider. So it starts out at the ratio of a 0.87 from the Plane of Sky quest. Damage 45, delay 52. Gives you a negative to your int, but it also procs Fury of the Chosen, which I have opened up here, and it increases your AC, your agility, stamina, and dex. So a proc to go off that, and of course with the way EQL items work, you can change that proc, pull out something else, put something else in, whatever you like. But what I find really fascinating about this cudgel is you beef it up, plus 10 it, you got 90 damage, 52 delay, a 1.73 ratio, so just a very hard-hitting two-hander. And of course they get other weapons, like I think it was called a Sky Cleaver or something. They have other things that they get. This is just the one that I highlighted here. interesting weapon, very cool combos. You put that on somebody doing two-handed damage, you have the Berserk stance on top of that doing, you know, cutting that delay in half, as for instance, and then you have haste on top of that. So you really are attacking fast with a two-hander. So just something I had fun with, you know, big numbers are fun. So kind of a brief overview on their strengths here, and then I wanted to go over with their, what I consider the weaknesses, the cons, quote unquote, which aren't necessarily, you know, it's just what I found interesting with them, things to consider when you're playing them. So the Berserker stance has a baked in like 8.5% of the damage that you deal hits yourself back. So kind of something to consider. You know, it's just part of the trade-off of using that stance. I didn't find it to be that big of a deal. They also have like their rune AA that makes some of their crit damage give them a rune shield. So they have ways on their own to offset that, but the rune on its own isn't going to be enough to sustain you, right? So that's where the next parts here come in. They don't have a mana bar, so when you're picking your combo trio, your two highest classes go into the stats. So if you have a triple melee, no mana, you're not going to have any mana. Or if Berserker's your, you know, if you have like Warrior, Berserker, and Cleric, well then you only have like the one mana pool to deal with, kind of thing. So the other part here is they don't have any innate heals baked in, so they have kind of no sustain, no mana, no heals. So just something to consider. It's something you're going to want to combo the class with to get that somewhere typically, or have a group member that's going to heal you, for instance. And then the other thing here, no heals or slows, or I'm sorry, no haste or slows. So haste and slows I think are a really big deal in the game. You can get it from other parts of your trio, but that's just part of their class kit doesn't have that. The other thing I forgot to mention on the slide here would be they don't have an escape. They don't have like a feigned death and stuff like that. So kind of that, you know, basic high level overview on that. But what I did want to also talk about a little bit would be things like their combos that I think they will go well with. So the biggest ones that I see are going to be things like a Paladin and the Shadow Knight, because the Frenzy stance, the Berserker stance, is going to give them 50% faster cooldown on their skills. So when you have a Paladin doing Smite, the Smite lowers the cooldown on Lay on Hands by 1 minute every time it lands, and it can like double and triple attack. I'll go into that more with the Paladins, but when you cut the cooldown on that by 50%, that means that your Lay on Hands is coming back more often because you're getting more opportunities to land a Smite, you know. There are, of course, some trade-offs with that, because then you're doing it more, your mana is going to drain faster, so things to consider on that. Same idea with the Shadow Knight and the Reave. If you're reaving more often, your Harm's Touch is going to come up, you know, have more opportunities to reduce its cooldown more often. So it turns into just a really cool combo. It's a lot of fun, you know. I really enjoyed it. The same idea is going to be in that with like the Rogue's backstabs and the Monk's kicks, the Warrior's cleaves. You know, if you're doing lots of cleaves, lots of frenzies, you know, I think that's a fun combo to consider as well. You know, Warrior, Berserker, and then like a Cleric or something. So that would be the last thing you'd really want to consider, or like a Shaman, so that you have heals, slows, haste, and then you're also taking advantage of the Berserker stance. So one I played a lot was actually the Berserker Paladin Monk. So Paladin had the heals with their own innate kit, Lay on Hands and stuff like that. The Monk had your mend to kind of bridge the gap. You could you know, and then the Berserker going in and smashing stuff. So it was really strong. It got into like D1, D2 on some of those raid kills, but where its weakness was in that particular trio was no haste and no slows. So that was something you'd want to try to find through like procs, or, you know, there's weapons that have haste procs and stuff like that. So anyways, that's just kind of my overall vibes I was getting from the Berserker. Really fun class, well-rounded. I like it. Just things to consider if you guys are considering playing a Berserker in EverQuest Legends when it goes live here on the 28th. So thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing y'all in the comments and stuff. Let me know what trios you're planning on doing, and I appreciate you watching the video, making it to the end. Y'all have a good one.